It's 19 hours and it's now time for the 93.1 Real FM News in detail. Welcome. We're so happy that you can join us. I'm Gabriella Patram. Locally, in wake of the government's vaccination policy requiring proof of a COVID-19 vaccine or a negative COVID-19 test result to be allowed entry to a public building, the Catholic Church of Guyana has decided to return to virtual services rather than enforcing the policy. In a statement to members of the Catholic Church, the Bishop Francis Allen announced the decision, pointing out that places of worship are covered by the new requirement, and it would mean that church members would have to provide their vaccine proof or a negative test result to be allowed entry to the church. He said the new measures would mean that many members may not be allowed entry into the church since they are unvaccinated, and the church ought not leave part of the body detached from the whole. Bishop Francis said this coming Friday all worship sessions will be done virtually and the Catholic Church will be closed for public worship until further notice. The majority of teachers showed up to school on Wednesday despite calls for a strike by the Guyana Teachers Union GTU. Those on strike took their protest to the Ministry of Education's Brickdam office in Georgetown. They called for a reversal of the government's COVID-19 vaccination policy. The teachers' protest comes 3 days after the reopening of some schools for face-to-face learning. The Ministry of Education released data on Wednesday following the strike. The data showed that 88% of the required nursery school teachers reported for work and 89% of the primary school teachers reported for duty. The ministry also reported that majority of the pupils who were scheduled to attend classes on Wednesday showed up. Region 10 recorded the lowest turnout of teachers and students, and this is the region which also has the lowest vaccinations rate, reported a 6.1% attendance rate for teachers and a 10.8% for pupils attendance for both nursery and primary schools. Regions 3, 5, 8, and 9 saw a 90% turnout. For schools in Georgetown, there was an 18% attendance rate for primary schools pupils, and the ministry noted 831 out of the 4,507 pupils showed up on Wednesday. 3 women died on Tuesday after they were infected with the disease COVID-19, the Ministry of Health reported today. The 3 fatalities are an 81-year-old woman who resided in Region 4, a 36-year-old woman who lived in Region 3, and a 45-year-old woman who also lived in Region 3. With these 3 deaths, the overall death toll has increased to 657, with 32 of those deaths recorded in the first week of September alone. Meanwhile, another 289 people were infected with COVID-19 over the past 24 hours. This takes the total number of infections recorded in Guyana to 27,061. There are 36 patients in the COVID-19 ICU, 131 in institutional isolation, 2,475 in home isolation, and 6 in institutional quarantine. To date, 23,762 persons have recovered after they were infected with COVID-19. In the region, tropical storm warning has been issued for Bermuda as the island is expected to be impacted by the outer rain bands of Hurricane Larry. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Larry is expected to produce an inch or 2 of rainfall across Bermuda. Larry is moving towards the northeast near and is expected to turn towards the north-northeast in the next few days. NHC expects the center of Larry to pass east of Bermuda on Thursday and move near or over southeastern Newfoundland late on Friday. On the international scene, Taliban fighters used whips and sticks against a group of women protesting in Kabul today following the announcement of a hardline male-only interim government in the group's latest crackdown on opposition in Afghanistan. Videos and images received by CNN show the women chanting, "Long live the women of Afghanistan." Some held placards declaring no government can deny the presence of women, and "I will sing freedom over and over." Others held placards with the image of a pregnant police officer who was killed in Gore province a few days ago. The Taliban told CNN that they were not involved in her death but have subsequently launched an investigation. The fighters also beat a number of journalists covering the demonstration, according to witnesses. The Taliban have not yet commented on Wednesday's protests. And in the world of sports, Poland snatched an injury time equalizer to deprive England of 3 points in Warsaw as a sixth straight victory in their qualifying campaign for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. England looked on course to maintain that perfect sequence of results in European Group 1 and take another giant stride towards Qatar after a moment of quality from Harry Kane gave them the lead when he sent a dipping drive past Poland keeper with 18 minutes left. Gareth Southgate's side had performed well, commendable maturity to control Poland, and a hostile crowd giving thunderous backhands in their team. But it all changed 1 minute into 4 minutes of stoppage time. It was a bitter blow to England's players, who sank to their knees in disappointment after fighting so hard, but a draw does not cause too much damage, and they still remain in control of their own destiny. The Three Lions are 4 points clear at the top of Group 1 with 4 games remaining. And that's the 93.1 Real FM News in detail. Credits to News Source, iNews, Newsroom, Loop, and the BBC.